First rule of giving talks and demos is don't do live demos, and I'm trying to do a really ambitious live demo where we're going to take angry bots and make it into a complete real-time connected online game in less than half an hour, plus some time to talk about our own company and stuff. So we'll try to get through this. My name is James Gwertzman. I've been in the game industry now for more than 15 years. I love the game industry because it changes so fast. I love the fact that things are changing constantly. But I must say, over the last probably 5 years, it's changed way more than in the past 20. I mean, the rise of games as services, the rise of free-to-play have sort of turned everything on their head. And if you look at the top 10 grossing games on any of the modern app stores, they're all free-to-play games, which has to strike terror in the hearts of game designers because you're like, hey, I love making games, I love focusing on the fun, and yet to be successful these days, you've got to switch to being game as a service, which is a whole different ballgame. I was at PopCap for 8 years. I watched PopCap go through this transition directly. It was not an easy transition. I would say probably PopCap's not necessarily still through it yet. But it's tough. It's tough. And one of the reasons it's tough is because you have to build all these technologies, all these services, in order to put your game live. And so today, most game developers build these services themselves from scratch because they have to. There really aren't a lot of great sort of off-the-shelf solutions for the kind of services and the kind of technologies you need to take your game online and turn it into a game as a service. And so I saw that at PopCap and talking to friends in the business, saw an opportunity. And so what PlayFab is trying to do is we're trying to provide kind of a one-stop shop for all the services and back-end technologies you need to operate your game as a service. And not just the technologies, but also, or the services, but also the tools. Because getting the game to the finish line, or launching it, is just the beginning. You've got to have great tools to actually operate your game once it goes live. And that's a place where, frankly, most developers who getting the back-end technology working is tough enough, but getting all the tools to actually operate your game, that's a whole other level of complexity. And so we're trying to provide a solution for that as well. And we recently just announced actually a partnership with Exit Games and Photon. So we now have a solution for not only tools to operate your game, back-end services like leaderboards and authentication and so forth, but also now a complete multiplayer solution, both hosted and also standalone that we'll actually host for you as well. So complete solution, top to bottom, for everything you need for success. A really short list of some of the services we're trying to provide. I'm not going to go through all these today. You can go to our website to learn more about these. But what we are going to do is do a demo today and show the integration of quite a number of these actually into a live game. And I promise there's 2 more slides, kind of beating our own chest a little bit to kind of establish our credibility. We're a relatively new company, but the technology that we're using has been around now for more than 3 years. So if any of you know Planetary Annihilation or Loadout or Toy Rush, which recently went live on Android and iOS, those have been built on our platform. It used to be known as UberNet as part of Uber Entertainment, and we recently basically spun it out and have now spent the last 6 months sort of cleaning it up. And our mission going forward is to really take this technology and productize it. It's not that different from taking an army tank and trying to make it like the Humvee, the Hummer, right? I mean, sort of commercializing some pretty robust technology, but not especially user-friendly. So today, it's all there for you to use, but it still has some rough spots around the edges, and we're in a process right now of cleaning it up, adding better UI, better tools. So everything we have now will just kind of keep getting better, but it is ready for your use today. I couldn't help sharing some statistics, just to give you a sense of sort of what we're doing. Last week, actually, we had an Android game go live that got featured by Google on the homepage. That was Toy Rush. And we were handling more than 70 million API calls a day for that game. We have more than 5 million players on our database. So this is a real solution. And now what we're doing is making it available to you. So anyone can use it by just going to our website, signing up, downloading the SDK, and it's free up to 1,000 DAU. So, all right, enough kind of marketing talk. Let's get to the real heart of things. So we're going to try in the next 25 minutes left now to add player registration, in-app purchase, storing your player's profile on the server, leaderboards, in-app marketing, some title data storage, and analytics in about in 25 minutes, and then also show you the tools that we're going to use to configure all that stuff. We're not going to do anything today with multiplayer, custom server logic, trying to do any sort of real money validation with receipts from Apple or Google, social features. That's all. We'll put that off to later. So let's dive in. This is the plain vanilla version we're going to start with. It's the original Angry Bots, and we've cut down some of the start screens. There's no server integration here yet. We're just kind of playing around. Not a lot of interesting stuff going on here. So that's the basic game. Okay. The first thing we're going to do, the very first thing actually anyone needs to do when you're using our technology is logging in and creating an account for yourself. So you would just go to developer.playfab.com or just playfab.com. You'd hit the Getting Started button, and you'd basically create an account for yourself. Now, I already have an account, so I'm going to skip this step. Yes. I'm going to go back. And I'm going to log in. For some reason, LastPass doesn't like this particular thing, so let me do that. OK. When you log in, you see a tool that we call our Game Manager. And if you had multiple titles, you'd be seeing multiple titles down the left side. I've already provisioned this title, Angry Bots. You can provision as many titles as you want. What you first see when you log in isn't too exciting. It's just not a lot of big zeros. But it gives you a sense of sort of what you can do in here across the top. And one of the first tabs you're going to look at is this Properties tab. And I'm guessing you probably can't read that, so I'll kind of orient you. What you're looking at here is properties about your title on our system. And of these, every title gets assigned an ID. In this case, it's 8D34 for this particular ID. And every title gets assigned its very own URL for all of our APIs. So all of our APIs are at their bottom line a kind of web-based, RESTful web API. So everyone has their own API endpoint. We also have SDKs. Like I'm going to show you to the Unity SDK, which is a wrapper around that web API, but it's just a web API. And every title gets a security key, a custom security key, which is what you would use to access and configure this title from a trusted server. So we don't trust clients. We assume games and clients have been hacked and compromised. So we only really trust servers for being safe and protected. However, not every game has a server. And so we also give you some checkboxes here. You can decide whether or not you want to make this game a little bit less secure. For example, if you check this box, then any game is allowed to add virtual currency to itself, which means a hacker could figure out your APIs and hack your game and give themselves virtual currency. But for a lot of games, that's fine. In this case, I've chosen to turn on the ability. So any game can in this case, I've turned on user stats, which means that this client can update my high scores for the leaderboards, because I'm going to use that a little bit later on. The next thing you typically do when you're configuring a game is you go in and you set up your virtual currencies. And so we can have as many virtual currencies as you want. In this case, I've already defined one virtual currency. And I've got it set right now, so I get an initial deposit of 1,000 credits. But that seems a little bit skimpy. Let's go ahead and change that. And let's go ahead and give me 2,000 virtual credits when I first create an account on this game. And then the final thing you typically do is you manage your catalog of items. And this is one of those places where the tool's not quite user-friendly yet. The version we're working on now will be a complete web editable tool for adding and removing items from your catalog. The catalog, by the way, is anything you can purchase or otherwise provision in your game. It doesn't have to be physical items like a sword or a piece of armor. It can also be things like a level unlock, a temporary experience point boost, anything you want to be able to provision your player on, you put in the catalog. In this particular case, I've got the catalog file right here. It's pretty ugly. It's basically a giant JSON text file, and you basically edit. Adding items to the catalog means editing a JSON file. It's still better than coding it from scratch, but the next version of the tool will be more editable. And we have a full set of docs, by the way. So I'm kind of skipping around a little bit, but we do have on their PlayFab developer full documentation for our web APIs, and they also explain how to go in and use these different things. So, for example, if you're learning about the catalog, you'd be looking at the server. You'd be looking at the. Up here. Set. That's player data. 1 second. How about data management? Actually, sorry, it's the admin API. Admin API is where you set the catalog from, and it is right here. Set the catalog items. This is where we basically define exactly what goes into your catalog. And catalogs is a very powerful system. Items in your catalog can be a thing you buy once, it lasts forever. Buy once, you get 5 uses, then it goes away. Buy once, it lasts for, say, 72 hours, then it goes away. A random drop table. You can say, I've got 100 items, I'm doing a card game. I want to have 1,000 cards. Every card can have a different weighting. And you can say, this is a 5-card bundle. Buy the bundle. It randomly gives you 5 cards based on your random drop table. We can do things like a set. If I have every piece of armor in the dragon class, I automatically get a plus 25% defense boost. If I ever lose one of those pieces of armor, my defense boost goes away automatically. Right? Those are the kinds of things that we do for you automatically as part of our system. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply take. Let's take a look at this list of items here. And right now, for example, if I go into the tool, you can see that right now I've got my burst ammo pack. Gives you 400 pieces of ammo for 150. That seems a little bit expensive. Let's go ahead and change that price. So I'm going to change that price here from So it's 400 for, what's my price? For 150, let's go ahead and change it to 400 for, let's say, 125. Save that out. Go back to the tool, upload it. And it's updated now to 125. And now in the game, that's going to be the new price I see in the game. So let's go ahead and the first thing I'm going to do in the game now, I'm going to go ahead and this is all done with prefabs. All the source code is out there. You can go to GitHub and download everything. But I'm kind of cheating a little bit by making this really easy. I'm going to add in a login user prefab, and I'm going to add in a register user prefab. And now I'm going to go ahead and play the game. And now we're going to get a pop-up. Ask me to log in, but I don't have. Let's say I don't have an account yet. I want to register. I want to enter a new username. Let's call it Unite Demo 7. And register an account. And it worked because I would have gotten an error message otherwise. Still can't do anything with it, but now I have an account on the system. And if I were to actually go back now and look at my tool and go to recently added users, there it is, Unite Demo 7 just got added just literally seconds ago. Here's my profile. And so a couple things you can see here. I can see I now have 2,000 credits of virtual currency, which is good because that's what I just updated. So that's good. If I wanted to, but just because it's a demo, let's go ahead and give ourselves some more. Let's go ahead and give ourselves 10,000 units of currency. This is the kind of thing that one of your customer service reps might have to do, for example, if a player is having a bad day and they want to appease them. I don't have any other accounts linked, but part of what our system does, our system links in accounts from all sources. So we can link in Facebook accounts, Steam accounts, Game Center accounts, Google Play accounts. They all have places in here. And we have even more partners we're actually talking to. Twitter's on our list to come in soon and so forth. Twitch and so forth. Here's information. If I've been a bad boy and I've been griefing other players, there might be reports submitted by other players in here. I can do banning, ban the player. I can see my login history. I haven't actually logged in yet. I've just registered an account, so that's empty. I have no items in my inventory, so no items are here yet. But as we go through the demo, you'll see more and more things starting to rack up. And this games is for multiplayer game sessions. So if I was a multiplayer game and I had, let's say, a 4-on-4 match type game, every time I have a game session, it gets logged in here. And you can see an entire history of someone's play history. Up to, in some cases, we have players on here with like 5,000 and more game sessions logged. All right, so now let's go ahead and start adding in some more stuff. Let's go ahead and add in all the stuff I need to purchase stuff. So I want to add in a store, and I want to add in an inventory system, and I want to add in display of kind of my inventory and stuff like that. And so what's happening is, let me go back to this text file for a second. It's not entirely obvious what we're looking at, but what I've done is I've got two different kinds of guns here. Ammo pack, you can see this is called burst ammo and cannon ammo. See this field called custom data? I can store any arbitrary blob of data on items in my catalog. And in this case, it's actually kind of JSON encoded data key value pairs for these guns. The next version, by the way, will have this in a more normal like key value format, but here it's just a blob of stuff. I'm actually setting all the parameters of my gun here in the file. So for example, you can see this one has a frequency of 10 shots per second. This is a frequency of 2 shots per second, and so forth. So when I go into my game and run it, what's actually happening behind the scenes is I'm downloading that inventory data live into the system. I'm going to log in as a player we just set up. So that was about Unity Demo 7. No. Did I spell it wrong? Oh, Demo 7. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So you can see now I've got, at the bottom there, I've got my guns, nothing in there, but I do have like 12,000 currency credits. And let me bring up the store. So this store is being loaded dynamically from the server. That's what we just looked at. You can see that there's my burst ammo here is now the price is 125, not the 150 it was before. And I'm going to go ahead and buy myself the war pack, which is going to, you're going to see my currency go down over here. Some inventory items update down here. I'll buy another one just for kicks. And now I'm fully armed for bear. I can my basic weapons. But if I change now to say my burst weapon, or even my cannon. Right, so that's all coming off of the server. And we've configured this down here. So these are considered consumable items. So by using it just now, it's actually being consumed in my system. You probably wouldn't normally use a consumable for ammo. A consumable would be more for like a health pack or something. But still, it's a decent way to start. And in fact, if I now go back into my tool here and refresh my page for myself, you'll notice that my currency just went down. And if I look at my inventory and items, you can actually see the stuff I just bought. And I can actually see that I've got 13 remaining uses of this thing, 396 remaining uses of this thing, and so forth. So that's kind of cool. So that's being updated in real time. OK, let's see. What's the next thing I want to show you? So next, let's go ahead and look at adding into the system. Actually, I want to check my notes. Yeah, let's actually change those item properties. So let's go ahead now and make that gun a little bit stronger. So let's make this frequent fire at, let's say, a frequency of 20 shots per second, or I can make it even 30 shots per second. Let's change the sound pitch to 3, the multiplier 3 on the pitch, and let's make it a lot more damaging. Let's call it 100 damage per second. It's kind of fun. Save that. Go back into the tool. Go back to the catalog, manage catalog, upload the file. Okay. Go back into the game. Log in. Okay, and now when I change that weapon, it should be firing faster. And so it's hard to tell the difference and be a little bit higher pitch. So okay, that's that. Okay, next, let's take a look at leaderboards. So add a leaderboard prefab in. What the leaderboard is doing is it's basically going out to server. So what I'm behind the scenes, one thing I was doing is I'm storing my total number of kills as a property. And every time like right now 20 seconds in this particular demo, and when I quit the game, I'm saving that as a stat, a numerical stat on our server by basically posting that number up to the server. And so that automatically, anytime you can have any number of numerical stats in your game, every stat automatically becomes a leaderboard. You can tell it to become a leaderboard. And so now when I log in and go down here, this is my kind of leaderboard pop-up. These are the leaderboards, and you can see there's Unite Demo 7 right now. You can see over here, that's my little number of kills, 6. Sure enough, there I am with 6 kills to my credit. So not, so that's a very basic kind of leaderboard. But let me actually show you what's really going on kind of under the cover. So that's kind of fun. And if I were to go ahead and, actually let me go ahead and kill some more people here. And then it's now 9. If I wait a couple seconds, it'll update to 9. Yeah, there it is, updated to 9 now. Let me actually show you again kind of what's going on behind the scenes. So if I were to go into, so one thing that's fun about web APIs is that they're really easy to experiment with web APIs during your prototyping phase. So you can go to the documentation. You can look up a function like, let's look up our get leaderboard function. Here's a document. You can see get leaderboard is a web API. You pass in the statistic name. In this case, it's called score. Score is my stat name. You can pass in other arbitrary parameters, and what you get back is an array of leaderboard entries. And there's a tool called Postman. We love Postman. Postman is a tool for essentially experimenting and hacking web APIs. And so if you look here, this right here, there's my API endpoint. You'll remember this part of it from the properties page you saw earlier. This right here is my authentication key, that secret key I showed you earlier. This /client/get title news, that's just the path of this particular function. And I just have to pass in the actual stat. In this case, it's called statistic name. So I go statistic name, score, and it should just work. Post it. Yep. So what comes back is, oh, that's not, sorry. Yeah, thanks. It's just to get leaderboard. There we go, try that. That's better. There's my actual leaderboard. So you can actually see, here's all the leaderboard stats from all different players. And there's Unite Demo 7, should be in here somewhere. Stat value 9. Yeah, there's Unite Demo 7 we just posted, right? So it's, kind of showing off how you can hack and experiment. This is the most fun way to get oriented to our features, is just playing around and pretending you're a game and doing this kind of mock API posting this way manually. Okay, so that's leaderboards. Next step, in-game marketing. So let's grab the news prefab, put that in the game. So our tool has some pretty rudimentary in-game marketing tools. We have this thing called news articles, and these are basically articles that you can basically compose and publish. So right now there's only one article live in the game. I have this other one called Hello Unite 2014. This is actually unpublished right now. I wrote this previously. I can set this to published, hit save, and now it's considered a published article. And unfortunately, there's actually some caching going on here. It's going to take a couple of minutes to update live in the game. So I'll play it now, but you probably won't see it. But when I come back in a couple of minutes, it'll be live in the game. And so the game, so these are just basically text blobs. They could be anything. They could be a link to an image. They could be text, rich text, whatever, HTML, whatever you want to put in there. And then the game can download that from the server and display it anywhere you want. So in this case, I'm using it for an interstitial. So now when I run the game, that little text box is going to pop up as soon as I log in here. Unite Demo 7, password. And this one pops. Yeah, so that new article I published hasn't shown up yet, but it will in a few more minutes. And this is basically just a little text box. Again, it's really, really ugly. We did not spend a lot of art assets on this thing, but it gives you a sense of sort of what you can do. And again, that could be an interstitial. It could be an ad in your store. It could be message of the day. It could be however you want to use those news articles. OK, let's see. Next thing I want to show you is I want to show you some very basic analytics. So we're going back to the tool again. We've got a pretty robust, actually surprisingly robust analytics system, considering we're not really positioning ourselves as an analytics company. But one of the fun things about using our backend is we're automatically generating and storing events for you. So you do not have to integrate another analytics SDK to get a full set of analytics on your game. As long as you're using our APIs for things like login, log out, player purchase, real money transactions, it all gets logged automatically. And we put everything, all the events go into Amazon Redshift. Amazon Redshift is a pretty robust data warehouse solution from Amazon. That's what we use behind the scenes. But for our kind of core customers and above, we can actually give you access to that Redshift yourself. So we have canned reports in the tool. Coming soon will be some very basic custom report generation tools in our tool. But you can also just tie in directly with SQL access or Tableau or advanced BI tools and get complete power of whatever you want to do. I originally was going to do some custom events in this session, but I ran out of time to get that ready. But you're not limited to our events. There's a very simple function call in here called log event. And literally, you can use that to log any custom event you want, and it can be very powerful. The demo I was going to show you was every time I killed an enemy, I was going to log the XY coordinates of the enemy death and the name of the enemy, and then go into Tableau and do a heat map of where in the world enemies are being killed and how often. That's actually pretty straightforward, and it's super powerful. I ran out of time. But what I can do is I can show you, for example, my active users report. This is showing me logins, and you can see this was me this morning telling my whole team, everyone log in and play the game and generate some high scores. This is me debugging it last night when I was kind of getting things working. I can look at it on the monthly basis. Not a lot of usage over the course of a month because, again, this is just a demo app. And frankly, there's no paying users, no revenue tracking at all. But you know, if there's a live game, you can get a lot more data in there. We do have an API usage report that's pretty fun. Every single API call gets logged. And so you can actually go in here and see a breakdown of what you're calling and how often. So get user inventory being called maybe a little bit too much, it looks like. Get leaderboard, get catalog items, get user data, and so forth. Tells you how much data is being transferred and so on. We don't charge you based on API. We charge you based on DAU. But it's still useful to see why you're using which APIs. And you can, of course, go in here and see, OK, I've called 1,700 API calls so far in the last 24 hours. And over the course of the entire month, it looks like I've called 3,000, so 3,254 API calls. Not a lot. We have games that have called over 1 billion API calls in just a few months. So this can add up fast. OK, I think I'm actually done. So that's the demo. It's super fast. I didn't show you any of the code. I should probably show you a little bit of code just to prove this is not completely smoke and mirrors. If I were to go into, let's say, something like login user and look at the script, you can see what's going on here. This is the heart right here. So basically, assuming the person logged in correctly, I'm creating a new request from the login with PlayFab request class. I'm filling in a username field, password field. The title ID is the unique ID, the title you got out of your properties field. And then I'm calling PlayFab client API, log in with PlayFab ID. Every one of our functions are asynchronous. They return immediately. They all have callbacks. So in this case, the callback is to this thing called onLoginResult down here. So once it successfully completes, this gets called. And then I'm basically telling the game, OK, you're logged in now. Go ahead and start the game. And that's what's happening here. I'll show you one more example. Let's go ahead and look at something like Marketplace. Because frankly, this is one of the more uglier API calls. This is a case where in the start function here, I'm setting up a request for get catalog items. And I'm calling, and I'm setting the authentication key, and I'm setting some other things, and then I'm calling get catalog items. And then when it returns down here and starts catalog, I'm actually going through all the data I get back, and I'm using it to basically configure. You can't really tell, but this is my loop here. This is where I'm looping through all the items I'm getting back, and I'm basically parsing. I'm using a JSON deserializer to parse in that custom field. And then I'm basically using that to essentially create my guns. So here's where I'm actually creating new guns in my kind of inventory based on the properties I'm getting off the server. So that's where that's getting configured from. So again, it's really pretty easy. I use prefabs because I only had 25 minutes. But you could, in a matter of a day or two, you can get your game pretty well enabled with all of our features. Back to PowerPoint for a second now. Pricing, how much does this all cost? We've priced ourselves purposely to be really, these are all my backups in case it didn't work. But it did work, so it's amazing. Let's go back to, OK, so pricing. So how do we price ourselves? We price based on DAU. DAU is the one number that like every single game developer is sort of modeling and forecasting, so that's what we charge. And it's basically 0.2 of a cent for sort of our casual features and 0.6 for our core features. And the core features are really for those really high ARPU, very competitive multiplayer games that are, you need multiplayer and a lot more advanced kind of real-time features. And then and as part of our partnership with Exit Games, if you're a core customer, you get the entire suite of Photon server products for free. It's included as part of this. So basically, we're paying on your behalf to give you access to Photon server, Photon cloud, and also the Photon standalone, which is super awesome. And then we'll take and over the next 6 weeks, we're going to be working with them to tightly integrate it together. So you'll be able to provision a Photon cloud instance from inside that game manager tool I showed you earlier. You'll be able to I haven't shown you other features we have for hosting multiplayer games, but you can also build your own server using a Photon server, and then you can actually go in here and upload a build of your server to us, and we'll actually then put it out there and host it for you and manage the setting up and so on. Anyway, we have a lot of features we didn't get a chance to show today, like tied to multiplayer. And then we also have a support plan, and we have some support tiers and some other stuff. So if you're interested in pricing, email us. Here's the contact info. You can email info@playfab.com. My personal email is james@playfab.com. I love hearing from folks who are interested in using our stuff. We've had a phenomenal response just since we started at Unite. We've had some like 50 developers sign up now in the last couple days, which is great. So we're very excited to have you guys on board. You can follow us on Twitter. And with that, we're based out of time. Any questions about any of this stuff? Yes? Yeah, so OK, server logic is one of those big issues. We don't have a great solution today. We're working on one. Today, people, if you really want to have your own server logic, you still have to use a Heroku or Parse or something like that, and that kills us. It really kills us that that's their solution. Or you have to build your own server and upload it to us, which is also that's like a really heavyweight solution for some simplistic things. We are working on it. We've got 2 different solutions we're working on. One of them is basically from inside Unity. You can basically build a very basic logic, and then we'll have like a publish to server button in Unity that just puts it up there. That's not there yet. We're working on it. The other solution will be some sort of JavaScript type hosted solution, and we'll have a series of event like triggers that you can hook into to do your logic. So not a great solution, but we know we need it, and it is coming. Yeah.
Can we serialize the data that we're sending and then deserialize it to the game server and then perhaps back and forth?
Sure, you can do. I mean, that's entirely up to you. So when you say serialize, you mean things like save game state.
Yeah, game state, hash the data.
Yeah, you're totally on your. You have control. You have complete control over that kind of thing. And if you're using a custom game server, we don't get in the middle of that at all. If you're using a custom game server, either Photon server or your own game server that we're hosting for you, you have your own connection directly to that server. All we do is help set up a game session, give you the port number, give you the IP address, and say, here's your server, go talk to it. And then you're on your own for talking to your own server for that kind of thing. Once we do custom server logic, we haven't figured out exactly how that's going to work. We'll be managing that for you in that case. Another thing I should say is that one of the reasons we partnered with Photon server and Photon Cloud is they do have a pretty good solution. If you're doing for a lot of games, the notion of a Photon room with they have something called webhooks, which is a way to do custom logic tied to a room. You still have to put that logic somewhere, and we're working with them. That's the part we're looking to kind of automate. But we're really excited about using Photon to help us with a lot of the server logic, game logic for asynchronous games like turn-based games and so on. That's going to be very, very powerful. In fact, Christoph, where are you? You're here, Christopher here from Exit Games. He's also happy to chat with you about what that looks like on the Exit Games side. Any other questions? Yes?
Is it possible to have something like auto login, so you don't have to bother users like creating an account?
Sure, of course. I mean, I glossed over this. I went straight to probably the most heavyweight login solution, which is the username password. We also support like everything else under the sun. So the most common scenario is you start with your device ID, your Android or iOS device ID. We even have a login API specifically for that. So you typically start with an anonymous device ID to log in, and then after the player's already been playing for a while, you might say, how about Facebook Connect? And you get Facebook on there. And then you say, and then once you've played for another few hours, if you ever lose Facebook, you're going to want to use a username and password. How about creating an account? And that's when you get them to create the account. And the account, of course, is the gold standard because it's the most persistent. You have the most information about your player. It's going to be the most cross-platform. But it's not. You don't want to start with that because you're going to turn off a lot of your players. So here's login with Android device ID, login with Facebook, login with Google, login with iOS device ID, login with PlayFab, login with Steam. and so forth. And then we have more coming. Yeah.
We do leaderboards by group because we do educational games. So we'd like
Yep.
to show so-and-so's classes ahead.
Yeah. So today, our leaderboards are either, so you can create any leaderboard you want based on a statistic. And you could kind of hack it by having your own kind of like, tuple of like statistic and group. But that's a little bit awkward. What we do is we filter by friends, so we can do friends filter leaderboards, like for example your Facebook friends or your friends list. But the notion of being able to tag and do a subset of a leaderboard based on tags, we have heard that request before, and it's something we're looking at. I can't tell you when we're going to deliver that. But there are ways to do what you're asking for now, but they're not as elegant as what will hopefully be coming. In the back. No, so that's a good question. We chose purposely to not be tied to revenue. So any money you make in game, you keep. Apple's already taking enough out of your pocket. We did not want to be yet another revenue tax. We are a usage tax, and so we pay us purely based on DAU. If your game is very profitable, that means that's a percentage of revenue. We're going to be cheaper, and up to 1,000 DAU is completely free. So it's enough for testing and so forth. Yeah. Is that DAU charged per day or per month? We charge you once per month, but we add up over the course of the month. That's exactly right. It's literally like, that's exactly how it works. So, 2,000 people would be 1,000 free. So, and then 1,000 people would be, $2. So it'd be $2 for, let's say, Monday, and then maybe say $3 for Tuesday and so forth. Any more questions? I think we're out of time. Yes?
Yeah, how do you handle localization?
So we don't have a great localization story today. Our tool is completely non-localized at all. We have requests for that, and we're looking at that. As far as your game itself goes, you are in charge of anything you show your users. So there's nothing in our system that
You create items itself in the system.
that's entirely up to you. And I'll give you one last example before I get boot off the stage. We do have this notion of title data. Title data is arbitrary key value pairs that are stored on the server level. So here, I'm actually using these right now for some hover tips. So for example, I could go in right here and I could do, let me show you this. I could go into, for example, icon currency and say, I don't know, my French is terrible. There, okay, so that's my attempt to do some basic localization. Icon currency, and now when I run the game, that hover over tip will be downloading in real time from the server, and we'll see what that looks like. So yeah, so there's my attempt. I don't know if you can see that. That says c'est un tarif item, as opposed to that. So that's an example where I'm actually using the server to set a string being loaded dynamically in the client. And we actually suggest you do that. We actually suggest you host all of your strings on a server-side table, so you can update it anytime you want to and have it dynamically downloaded to your client. And your client, of course, can cache it and only download it if it changes. There's a lot of things you can do like that. So there's very rough localization. Okay, I think we're done. I'm happy to take questions offline. Thank you very much for coming on a Friday afternoon.